Everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to make sure that I was here to personally welcome all of you. And we've organized this morning around services for our kids who are transitioning back into school, and also for all the adults that we have in our school system here and our families. And so this just happens to be an area of expertise that I'm not familiar with. So I'm really thankful for the efforts of Jen Hannon to organize this day, and all of our service providers who are here. And I think all of you have heard this before if you've attended one of my general meetings each week, and that is we know the effects of traumas don't manifest themselves until sometimes way later after an event, and that certainly is true for kids, and we know that it's true for adults too. So if you tuned in just now to get some information and you happen to be someone who's struggling, don't suffer in silence. And that's the phrase I like to use. Please make sure that you're taking down some information that may help you and reach out. And so everybody that's listening, you already have my cell phone number, but I want to give it again. It's 503-382-7768. You can reach out to me at any time, 24/7. I'm at your service. If I don't have the answer, I'll point you in the right direction to get you the support that you need. So we're going to share with you a lot of great information. And I think what we're going to do is hand it off to Cassie. I see you first to my right. So we're going to do some introductions, and then we're going to get right into the presentation for today. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
Good morning. I'm Cassie Stafford. I'm the Senior Manager for Mental Health and Behavior at Willamette ESD. I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm going to pass it to Holly.
Good morning. I am Holly Dalton. I'm the Senior Manager of Social Emotional Learning, or SEL, at the Willamette ESD, and I am very happy to be here as well. Rodney.
Hi, I'm Rodney Dean. I work as a family support advocate with Willamette ESD, but also work as a crisis response team lead, and happy to be here as well.
And I'm Gorman, and I am a clinical supervisor with Trillium Family Services, and I manage the school-based therapists who go into the schools throughout Marion County. And I'll hand it over to Jose.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jose Arredondo, and I work as a child and family therapist at Trillium, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so, and thank you so much for Silver Falls School District. I think you know Jennifer Hannon and Scott Drew and Dan Bush, so thank you so much for being, for letting us hosting this event so that we could come in and talk a little bit. So I'm going to. So this morning, we would like to acknowledge that all of the different staff members in the district may be present. Everyone was invited to this meeting, so everybody plays an integral role to the functioning of Silver Falls School District, and you are all Silverton strong. We are really proud to be able to speak with you today. Unfortunately, the circumstances aren't what we would have hoped, given the challenges that your district is facing right now. So I'd like you to all take a deep breath and appreciate that we are here together this morning to really come to connect and to make sure that you feel supported in the transition back to school. We also would like to make sure that we collaborate in order to support students, so you're not alone. You have resources with mental health providers and with other people throughout the district, and also to share some community building resources, okay? We know you have a lot on your minds, a lot to think about, and we just ask that you're present with us for this next hour, and give yourself permission to sit back, watch, and participate as you feel comfortable. So just to give you an idea of the agenda, the first part of the presentation will be in, we've already done our introduction. We'll talk about what you can expect for the meeting guidelines. We'll do a check-in. We'll give a little bit of information on how to support your community using some simple stress management and social emotional learning strategies. And then part 2 is about reconvening with the students, talking about what you anticipate the needs are that you might have and that your students might have. This is where we're going to ask for participation within the chat or the Q&A box. Dan Bush will be moderating that for us. Then we will be following that up with some internal and external resources and connections to ensure that you are aware of all those that you have available to you. And I'm going to hand it over to Holly.
So just a little bit of housekeeping. Our session is being recorded and everyone is muted. So we're going to type your questions, thoughts, or concerns in the chat at any time. Actually, that's not quite true. We're going to have you type the questions in the Q&A section. But if are there any immediate thoughts or concerns, you can type that into the chat. It'll be difficult for Dan to monitor both things, but I'm confident he can do it. And if we don't address your comment during our time together, we will ensure that we follow up at a later time after we might have to gather some information. And also the last one is to give people grace. We are all at different places at this time. So some may be feeling excited about coming back to school. Some are also grieving loss of homes, etc. So just giving people grace for where they are at this time. So we know that emotions impact our lives, including our relationships, well-being, decision-making, and how we process things. Since March, our worlds have been turned upside down with the addition of the fires have caused an enormous amount of stress in your lives and the lives of your students and families. So emotions are immediate responses to what is happening around us. Those responses are caused by something real or imagined, and they change our thoughts, physiology, expression, and behaviors. Our emotions inform our behaviors, and they also act as helpful signals that guide our responses to people and situations, and know that all emotions matter. So we are going to, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the ruler approach, but a ruler approach is one of the ways that we can look at social emotional learning. And one of the tools that is integral in the process of ruler is something called the mood meter. And so the mood meter allows us to identify what emotion we are feeling currently. So I'm going to paste a link into the chat. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on that link and it should open what we call the mood meter. There are 4 quadrants to this mood meter. At the top of the mood meter is high energy. The bottom is low energy. The top right is more of the excited, happier feelings. The top left is more of the anxious feelings. And the bottom 2 are lower energy. So you're going to hover over where you are feeling right at this time. And you are going to click on how you are feeling right now. And it will plot where everybody is. And I will be sharing that with us. So let's give us a moment to plot where we are. Can everybody get there? We had one person that said they're unable to get on. So I'm hoping. Oh, I posted the link in the chat. So, uh-oh.
It's there.
It's there?
I'll repost.
Okay. Lots of people are saying they don't see it in the chat.
Should be there now.
So
We are also modeling the challenges that you might have with technology
technology.
and
I
working
can
through
see
this.
that 3 people have plotted. So, and I'm going to share my screen. We'll just give another couple moments for people to share. It's pretty powerful to see where people are. Okay, it looks, oh, it's still going. So as I said, this demonstrates that we are all over in our emotions. Some people are feeling engaged, some people are feeling interested, some people are feeling tense or nervous or worried, some people are feeling disheartened or pressured or exhausted or dejected or drained. So this is something that you can do with your students and also with yourself as a staff to see how you're feeling, because the 2 quadrants on the left hand side are people that we would want to check in with to help move them to a different part on the quadrant. We wouldn't want anybody to stay in the dejected or disheartened. We would want to be able to provide them support. But we also know that we have the people that are brave and courageous and motivated as well. So, and I just want to reiterate that there are no bad emotions. Where we are is where we are. But this could help us identify for staff and students, people that might need that extra support. So thank you for allowing to check in. I'm going to stop sharing and send it back to you.
Does the screen look okay, everybody? Okay. Thank you, Holly. That was really powerful for me to watch those dots kind of shift and spread.
I see your speaker notes.
Oh, look at that. I was wondering about that. Okay. I'm gonna say again, this modeling that technology we're all learning, right? There we go. Is that better?
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Okay. So I'm gonna pass it off to Rodney.
Thank you. As Holly was doing the mood meter, to me, we anticipated, and it became clear that for many, it's been a bumpy ride. And so we wanted to use this slide of an airplane, and with living in a pandemic, and on top of that, trying to figure out distance learning, and then with the fires, again, bumpy ride. I think it's probably safe to say that for many, the oxygen mask has come down. And in our efforts to help those around us, help our kids, we're reminded of this slide to put that oxygen mask on us first, so that we're in a place where we can then reach out to help others. We know that you wouldn't be here in this chat had you not been doing some things to take care of yourself. So I just want to recognize the challenges, and also recognize the fact that you are survivors and you've been doing some things whether you are aware or not aware, conscious or unconscious about some self-care that you've taken. So what I'd like to do is just take a moment for you to think about something that you've been doing that's been helpful, that you've been doing to take care of yourself, to be in a place where you're at right now. And if you want to throw some things in the chat to share with others, you're welcome to do that. But just at least just take a moment to recognize some things that you've been doing to take care of yourself. And with that in mind, at the end of the day, we have another slide that will offer some additional ideas to perhaps what you've already been doing to take care of yourself. I'm seeing some things about staying connected with loved ones, reading, taking some time alone. These are all great things. Hobbies, keeping a schedule, journaling, Bible, consistency. These are fantastic. Yeah. Cooking, walking. Fantastic. Again, just wanted to bring to your awareness that you are doing things to take care of yourself. And that's going to put you in a better position, as you know, to take care of the students that you love and care about and want to serve during these special times. So great. Let's keep those going. Perfect. Excellent. Excellent. So Cassie, we'll go back to you as folks continue to do that. I think folks will have access to the chat if they want some additional ideas from each other. Those will be there. And I think those are actually linked to individuals who felt comfortable sharing their name, so they can even get in touch with each other and maybe hook up on a walk or some hobbies or some cooking or gardening together. So back to you, Cassie, on that. Thank you, guys.
Great. And we're going to pass it to Holly.
So I was noticing that a lot of the things that people were posting in the chat have to do with social emotional learning. So you are already practicing many of the things that I'm just going to remind us about, which is wonderful. So one of the ways to engage students is to consider starting each day or class period with a welcoming inclusion activity. For example, you can do this in the digital world by projecting an image on a screen and explaining that the task is to complete a sentence stem, such as the given topic is like this image because, and participants or students generate and record as many comparisons as they can. And that takes about 1 or 2 minutes, and that's just a way to engage your students. Provide multiple opportunities for students, and Anna would say staff, to connect with one another. So that is team talk or circles or morning meetings. One of the things that you can also do in the digital world is to come up with some classroom shared agreements and ensure that they are posted online. And make sure that you are having some structured cell lessons, because social emotional learning is not something that we achieve by osmosis. It needs to be taught just like our core subjects in reading and math. One of the things that I saw about people posting in the chat is consider setting up a staff or a student buddy system for daily check-in. So I saw that some people posted that with going for walks with friends. It's important to have a buddy, especially at this time. You might consider creating and documenting staff shared agreements. For example, how do you want to feel at work? And another way is you can integrate CEL into staff meetings, and then you can model social and emotional competencies through your interactions with one another and your students.
Thank you, Holly. I also wanted to bring everyone's attention to the different types of stress. So we wanted to talk a little bit about stress and stress in your students, and then how you can create a space that helps students feel more comfortable and helps yourself as well. So positive stress is that stress that's mild, that gets us to study for a test that we're a little bit nervous about, or extra planning for a lesson that we're not sure is going to go well, that kind of thing. That's positive stress. Tolerable stress is stress that is temporary, and it's buffered by supportive people in our lives. We have relationships, we reach out to them, and that's something we can handle. It might be for a short period of time. And then the third level of stress is prolonged activation of stress. So it could be looking at the pandemic, looking at the wildfires on top of that. And it's really important that we have protective relationships when we have this level of stress. And so I'd really like to, I'm so glad to see in the chat so many people talking about connection, because that's really important. And we also know that our students may be having some of those positive connections with their families, and maybe some are not. So reaching out and helping build those protective relationships so that we can all handle the amount of stress that we're under. Sometimes just kind of identifying that we're under this amount of stress is relieving in and of itself, because it gives you it helps you say, man, I am doing pretty good considering all of this. Or it helps us say, you know what, I need to reach out to someone and help make sure that I'm doing okay. So I want us to look at stress in terms of information that helps us know then what to do, rather than dwelling on what the stressors are. So, you know yourself. We'll talk a little bit later in the presentation about some signs you might see in your students, but you know the signs that you see in yourself when you're under different levels of stress. So I encourage you to listen to yourself and engage some of those protective strategies that you all mentioned in the chat. And if you don't know how to do that, we'll give you some information on how to do that. What you can really do for students right now is create predictability, offer connection, be flexible. Flexibility in distance learning is key. I'm sure you've talked to other colleagues around the region that have already started their students in classes, and they're having to be very flexible with the challenges that we're all facing. We're all in this together. I have so much respect for educators right now. My mom is a retired teacher. I have a lot of respect for what you all are tasked with doing right now. And I'm really proud of the work that everybody's doing as well, because it's pretty amazing what you're all doing. But being able to be flexible and realizing our students are going to lose connection, they may not have internet, it might be, those kinds of things, and empowering, providing some choice within, when possible, within the lessons. But that biggest piece, I think, is that predictability. So if they're not surprised at what happens, they'll feel more comfortable, they'll be more able to be connected, flexible, and empowered. So I'm going to pass it now to Rodney.
Sorry, just taking some notes on some great things in the chat. Again, using the chat feature, this is where we really want to invite you to be thinking about the needs that you believe you or your students are going to be have experienced and will be experiencing when you come back to starting school. And I put school in quotations because of the distance learning. And so go ahead, if you would, go ahead and put some anticipated needs that you think students are going to have in the chat, and we'll see what we can do to address some of those as a panel as well as a group. And I'm just going to go into the chat here.
And I think this is where, Dan, you're going to take a look at the Q&A in the chat and bring up the questions and thoughts that you're seeing, correct?
Yeah, so I'll continue to monitor here and see what kind of questions we have. And I think, it's great to make a list of what we think is, as Rodney said, of, what we think kids might need, but then also what we need as adults. So, but yes, I'll continue to monitor the chat.
Fantastic.
Okay. And then Cassie, we're going to test your technology here. I'm wondering if you might be able to, as those questions are coming in, they're reminding me about one of the links that we have on the WESD website.
Yep.
Under wildlife fire services or resources. Excuse me, I just got a phone call and I just got rid of it, I think. There we go. So I think Jen was able to send out our first draft of resources out to all the staff there. We've made a couple updates, and so if you can't remember where you put that that Jen sent out, or you want to take a look at some of the updates, you can go to the WESD.org, and on the homepage, there's various things about COVID, wildfires, distance learning. So just look for the one that has wildfires, and you can go in there and click. And there's a whole bunch of great resources. And the one I want to bring to your attention is the one that Cassie, thank you, pulled up. These are 10 tips specifically for educators in helping youth after community trauma. And so some of the things that I saw coming up in the chat or questions or anticipated needs, a lot of those are actually addressed here. And the first one that I'd like to take a look at was someone said there might be difficulties with focus. And yes, I think it's safe to say and safe to anticipate that there's going to be some difficulty. We want to get back into school, but we're going to have challenges perhaps with technology, anticipate it, and then also with everything going on in the community. Have some understanding, continued patience, and some grace around the fact that they may not be ready to get back to learning. That's why I really like the SEL approach, which takes into consideration how are we doing socially, emotionally, as that does impact our learning. So thank you for that. I also saw in the chat something about a few things about keeping routine best we can, and that's absolutely essential, yet with flexibility and understanding that getting into the routine might take some time to get there, but doing the best we can to create that routine. Dan, are you noticing any other themes that are popping up in the chat that maybe we can address?
I'm seeing, a lot of commitment to connection. I think that, what you hit on there, Rodney, is the balance of striking between consistency and routines, and also that flexibility. And I think I think we found that in the spring when we went into distance learning. And so I think that's probably the real balancing act for teachers is really how do you balance structure and routine and flexibility? I think that's probably the trick of any teacher. So that's kind of what overall theme I'm reading through this list.
Okay.
I would just add to Rodney, I'm reading the chat. One thing is about connection and instruction too. So we know that students' needs, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, need to be met in order for the academic pieces to come. So that's almost a secondary piece. We should be doing it simultaneously, but knowing that we can't meet those academic needs unless those social emotional needs are met. So, and that's also how you form connections too and build trust. Just using my own children as an example of started school in a district that doesn't belong to the Willamette ESD a couple weeks ago, the teachers that are making those connections with my children, that's how my children are more engaged as well. So just keeping that in mind.
Very good point, Holly. Thank you. I saw something in the chat too about just difficulties about kids wanting to go back to school, wanting things to be normal again, or any challenges that kids are having as we come across them. I just found really essential just to kind of, instead of jumping too quickly to reassuring, almost is just spending a little time to validate, normalize, generalize, just to know that we're hearing them and we're connecting with them, and then we can turn the corner of hopefulness, and we're doing the best we can. We're putting plans in place. We're trying to be flexible, trying to be understanding. Someone mentioned earlier in the self-care piece that they reminded themselves that this is temporary. And I think that's a great message for not only ourselves, but for students to have as well. Going back to the self-care in the chat, There's a lot of the basics that were covered around sleep, doing what we can to help out with nutrition, and being active. And I know that active, especially during the smoke part, was a challenge. We don't need to go there right now on the website, but back to the WESD website, there's actually a list of activities that we can do to stay busy when we can't be outside. On that website also, there's another little link to protecting ourselves specifically from smoke and wildfires, and trying to be safe that way. Just again, anything else in the chat that we're hearing that are themes?
No, but I think one thing I can try to connect, if we go back up to what people teachers were saying as far as, what they did, their own self-care, a lot of those things are activities you do with others. And I think that, that human connection happens over something that we do. And so with our kids, it's around learning. And so as we're, I think that we build these SEL skills through shared experience with kids, and that, so again, I'm kind of reiterating or restating that balance around what we hope to, how we hope to connect with kids through learning experiences. So, because kids, adults, we learn that other human beings are safer when we do things together with them. And so it's, as we roll out distance learning next week, keeping that balance between what we're hoping kids will learn, but also what they can experience, and doing the best we can through a CDL model.
Thank you, Dan. I'm looking at one specifically about SPED and the challenges of online learning, let alone for SPED kiddos. How do we connect? How to help them connect and learn online? That's a huge challenge. I'm not going to pretend to have the answers to that. Although, again, on the WESD website, not in the wildfire resources, but there's a whole section there on distance learning and some of the challenges there. Maybe there'll be some ideas for SPED kids on that. So I just wanted to make a quick reference to that. Internet being down and possibly being down for maybe even a few more weeks, especially out maybe in the Scotts Mills area. There is a resource through Comcast where there's free Wi-Fi hotspots that they can offer, and maybe our tech person can answer whether or not that would be a helpful thing for those folks, but that is a resource we can, folks can check in with Xfinity about free Wi-Fi hotspots for those in need.
Rodney, we have a Canvas for Families page and some other resources we're following up with each family that doesn't have internet. So we can follow
Great,
up.
thank you. Good to know that too.
One thing, if I could add, Rodney, this is a little bit going back to what Holly was saying, but the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So students cannot access, what they need, that cognitive ability to learn. But as educators, if we don't manage our own Maslow's hierarchy, right, we're not in a good place to then engage in that educational process either. And so, again, I just want to kind of bring that back to, if you can get yourself in a place that's a good space, that is going to be huge for the students that you're working with, because they're going to feel that. They're going, even through distance learning, they'll be able to feel that, and that will help them calm their systems down enough to be able to learn. So just again, remembering that you are an important tool, the knowledge you have, the strategies you use, the instruction that you use, but you're also just as a human being an important tool in helping students get to the place where they can learn.
Yeah, thanks, Cassie. Just two more things as I'm reading through the chat that I wanted to make a comment about. One is about parents and about maybe how to support our parents to support our kids, or their kids, our kids, right? And we are actually having a meeting tonight with Silverton parents. Maybe some of you are aware of that, but we want to hear what their concerns are and also reach out to them and let them know we're here and providing some resources and support that way. Sound like a broken record, I apologize, but again, going back to the Willamette ESD website, in the wildfires resources, the first link is actually for parents on specifically supporting their kids after a wildfire. So some very specific resources that are great. I mean, there's some really great resources out there. The second piece was, again, I'm seeing things about connection. And boy, really challenging if there's no internet, phones, doing what we can, just looking for any opportunity we can to reach out, let them know again that we're here, we care, and they're not alone. And I don't know if that means boots on the ground. I understand some folks have actually gone out into the communities where there's not any other way to connect. And again, with COVID and social distancing and being safe and taking care of yourself that way. But maybe it's just seeing someone face to face, or in our case, mask to mask, can do a lot of good. Just having that, finding any ways to connect. I don't know, maybe we need to hire an airplane to fly over that area with a little banner behind it saying, we love you, or Silverton strong, or whatever it may be, but looking for creative ways to connect, as connection is just so important. Anyone else have a chance to look through and respond?
I'd just add that the one chat from Jennifer was that teachers need permission to use their time to allow students to process and connect right now. So I think that's one thing to remind ourselves, is that is the important part right now.
Mm-hmm. And I think your administration, by having this space today, is truly acknowledging that's an important piece of moving forward. So, give yourself some permission, to, remember your tasks that you need to do for the student's education, but remember that you have to process that first to be able to move on. So, excellent.
Just a couple other things really quick. Routine came up, and sometimes a question comes up about discipline, and really just the idea in situations like this, whether virtual or in person, if there's minor behaviors that kind of come up, just again, just with a little grain of salt, just kind of redirecting them best we can, but not really coming too hard on discipline for minor stuff. And also, if you become aware of students that are having suicide ideation, or talking about significant depression or anxiety, self-injury, or dangerous behaviors, I think Jen will confirm this for me, but we want you to, can reach out, support them best you can, and then also connect them, or reach out to your school counselor that would pertain to that student or that school, and staff that with them, and then that'll tap into other community resources that we have on the panel today. But I just want to make a quick comment about that. Breathing, some good, just again, helping them to sleep. If they're having problems with sleeping, yes, that would be anticipated, very normal. Again, acknowledge that. Lots of kids, lots of adults are struggling with that, and then refocus on, and we're all doing what we can to kind of help out in that department. And what are some ideas or things that they have been doing, or that they think could be helpful in getting some sleep. In the self-care thing, pets came up over and over again. Pups specifically, there's something about puppies and kittens, right, that is very therapeutic and healing for us. Cassie, I know you have a dog that's a therapy dog, but whether they're trained or not, just pets can be just very therapeutic, soothing. If they can't pet a pet, having a blanket or a stuffed animal, something like that, can be just helpful, reassuring, soothing. And just talking to kids about, hey, if they're having trouble sleeping at night, so, I'm glad you told me about that. And let's think about some things we can dream about or think about, and I'll be here to rub your back until you fall asleep, kind of idea. Breathing exercises, there's lots of great ones out there. There's actually lots of apps nowadays, again, for folks that don't have internet, that may not be helpful at this point, but encouraging slow breathing, stretching, being active, just anything, massaging themselves, just anything you can do to kind of take care of themselves, or that back rub kind of thing. Other ideas coming to mind as you're looking through the chat, guys?
I would say that too, if you have a pet at home, including your pet in the in your classroom, your virtual classroom, just as, you know, an introduction of, you know, if you feel comfortable, I think can be very therapeutic. So people don't have to actually physically touch a pet. You know, you can look at pictures of cute puppies and kitties and those kinds of things. And those are the kinds of ways that you can, creative ways that you can also build connection. And so, you know, I just want to just remind people of those pieces that sometimes we forget.
Yeah. Thank you, Cassie. 3 things also that just popped up for me here was, one was media, and in the self-care piece, a lot of you were already talking about just limiting media exposure, and that can be very wise, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Not that we want to necessarily ignore everything, or maybe you do, but as far as the media's coverage is concerned, but sometimes if we are watching it, or if the kids are watching it, if we can, you know, be watching that with them, or encourage parents to be watching that with them, and then having discussions and follow-up discussions after that. And if it seems like it's becoming too much, then throwing out that suggestion of, hey, you know what, let's limit some of that stuff and put our focus over here on some other things. And that's the other thing I wanted to share. One of the other things I want to share is oftentimes in a moment where it seems like we're helpless and things are happening to us, it's a matter of finding things where we can, things that we can actually do. And so whether that's, you know, clearing some rubble, again, safety and age, take all those things into consideration, as I'm sure you will, but finding something they can do to feel like they're doing something, they have some control, and then they have some success, and then they have some confidence, and then they have some, you know, with that just comes the emotional stability. Even if that's just helping around the house, or helping out in the community, finding or raising funds, or reaching out, making things, doing what they can, are some other ideas. You know, volunteering, finding a way to volunteer. Another thing that comes up, the last thing I had, and then we'll see if there's more discussion that we want to have on this, or move to the next step. But there's that idea of safety. You know, are we safe? Is it going to happen again? You know, the fires aren't entirely out. So a couple things regarding that. One is going back to, it doesn't have to be the ESD website, but there's maps of the fire areas. And sometimes it was helpful. I was talking to someone yesterday, and she said it was actually helpful for her child to see on a map kind of where they're at, see where the fires are or where they were, and to sometimes see that physical distance between where they're at, and help them to be reassured that they are safe right now in this place with you. And sometimes that can be reassuring, especially if the smoke returns and they look around and it's like, it doesn't really look safe right now. So sometimes having a map can be helpful. And then just reassuring that there's sometimes there's things that we just don't know, but we're doing the best we can to be safe. We're making our plans, and you know, those are the things that we can do and put our focus on. Just regarding safety, I'll share hopefully brief, just a little example about when we tried to put up a fence. I'm not great at construction stuff, so we were actually able to pay someone to put the fence posts in the ground. And then later, about 5 years later, I was able to come along and put the horizontal slats, or the horizontal wood. Again, I'm not handy, but I was able to put that up, and I got that completed all the way around the house, but I had not put up the slats of the actual fence. And our 7-year-old at the time says, "Dad," as I was tucking him into bed that night, he says, "that fence isn't going to keep anyone out." And I said, "No, you're right. It's not. Also, I'm not done, so I'm going to put the slats up as well." But then I said to even him, I said, even once the slats are up, you know, some bad guys might climb the fence or do what bad guys will do. But I tried to reassure him that our job right now is to make things as difficult as we can for the bad guys. So we're going to do what we can, and we have other things besides the fence to help us to stay safe. So I share that example with you, and I think it kind of balances the reality of that they don't feel safe, and sometimes even our plans in progress aren't quite there yet, but reassuring him and others and ourselves that we do have a plan, we're working on the plan, and we have other things that we're doing to plan for our safety. So I thought I'd share that with you guys too. Hopefully that helps. Cassie, other thoughts or group
No, I
panel?
think that's good, and I appreciate that that story, Rodney. I think that one of the things that I wanted to kind of bring people to was, if you aren't sure how to start the first day back, many of you might feel very comfortable in engaging with your students the first day back, but some of you might not be sure exactly what to say. And in preparing for this presentation, Rodney and Holly and Jen Hanen and I and Paige were kind of thinking of possibly offering a sample script for you to even just take a read through and look at, so that you kind of have some words in the back of your mind as you jump into your first day with the students virtually. And you know, in thinking about how to create a safe space, give them some space to process, but also know when it's better to speak to a student individually. For example, if a student starts talking about real granular details of their experience, that would be a moment to kind of guide the conversation a little bit and say, hey, let's talk privately a little bit. I'd love to talk to you about that, just so that other students in your class aren't upset or starting to feel bigger emotions, right? So again, it's this balance. And if you have questions about that, feel free to put those in the chat and we can talk a little bit more about that as well. Rodney, do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, as educators and as parents, that's that difficult line to try to walk with trying to keep the door open to questions, concerns, individual needs, emotions, at the same time trying to be sensitive and aware of the rest of the group, if you will. So I love what Cassie has here. I think that it walks that balance nicely. And sometimes in situations where I maybe don't know what to say, I default oftentimes to thank you. That's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up, validating that, and then redirect and say, you know, that'd be something for us to talk about individually. So again, thank you for bringing that up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was something that popped in the chat.
Okay. I'm not looking at the chat, so if people...
Okay. It says, do you have any picture book suggestions that we could read to our class that would help us lead into this conversation?
Absolutely. What we'll do is, following this, we'll take those questions and be able to provide something so that everybody has that. Holly, did you have something that you were thinking of right away that you had in your mind?
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. There are a whole host of children's books that talk about emotions and feelings and strength. So I know we're quickly running out of time. So we want to ensure that our partners from Trillium get to share as well. So
just real quick before we go to that, if we could, again, going back to the WSD website, under links, there's actually a book on there. Then click on, I forget the name, it's like Two Kids' Names and the Big Fire. So there's actually a book there that might actually help prompt a discussion around fires. And then other than, so maybe not specifically a picture book to lead into that conversation, but sometimes that's a good preface. Just talking about how, you know, we've had a lot going on and lots of people process differently and maybe different places in their process around their thoughts, their feelings, and kind of what they're doing around this. So as something comes up that may be different, again, I want to, it's important to validate that, but I also want to, at the same time, I'm happy to meet with that person individually to have further discussion around what's going on for them. So.
And I pulled that book up, Trinka and Sam, The Big Fire is the one that is linked to the website. But we will also provide some other more general, that not so specific to wildfire, just so that you'll just have in your toolbox to have going forward for, you know, as we move on to other things too. Okay. So now, we'll still monitor the chat and the question and answer box, but I will, we want to make sure that you understand what internal and external resources are available to you. You may know this information, some of it may be new and updated, so I encourage you to take some time to listen to this, because as we start our work this year in a distance learning setting, it's going to be more important to know who to reach out to and where to make those connections. So I'm going to pass this to Jennifer Haanen right now.
Good morning. So for staff, we always have our EAP available, which will help you with short-term counseling needs and lots of life things that come up that we aren't sure where to go. That's always available to us on the district website. And if you have any questions about what our EAP offers or how to access it, contact Dan. He's become well-versed in that in the last 6 months, I'm sure. There will be a staff needs assessment coming from your principal in the next couple of days to help us better understand what the impact was for each staff and what your needs are moving forward. And then for longer term needs, of course, you can contact your insurance provider for what your benefits are for longer term care. And they will also help refer you and connect you with somebody that our insurance supports. And then for student or family support, their middle school and high school kiddos will complete a needs assessment when they return. And we will filter those through our counseling office and pull any students that need follow-up in that way. For our younger kiddos, that will be principals talking you guys through what kinds of questions to ask and how we're going to identify those needs. I know that was one of the things that popped in the chat earlier is are we identifying which families were impacted and what their needs are? So that's our plan for doing that as soon as we return with kids next week. And then students who are flagged through that process or through parents calling in and saying, I need some help with my kid or my kid is struggling, we will refer those to the counseling staff for screening. And then our counselors, our school counselors, will have outside teams to refer to if needed. And those teams include the people on this call today who've been amazing in stepping up to support the additional needs that are coming our way right now.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now I'd like to kick it over to Paige and Jose.
Hello. So we are really excited to be continuing with our partnership with Silverton. Historically, I think this is our 3rd or 4th year in the district, but we've been pretty limited to just Mark Twain, Robert Frost, and the middle school. And with COVID and with telehealth, we're actually able to expand our services to more of the schools, which while telehealth isn't our preferred way to provide services, it is really nice that we can actually reach more kids and support more of the community. So, to go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think that everybody, teachers, parents, kids, everybody's kind of in survival mode right now. And as we all settle into a routine, I think that you're going to start seeing some kids, and I saw that in one of the comments too, like what do we do when we see kids who are starting to struggle? And for each of those kids, the struggles might look different than when we were meeting in person. So I would just say kind of trust your instincts, and if you are checking in with kids and seeing them really struggling, then reach out to your school counselors and they'll start the referral process for us. We mostly can see OHP kids, but we can help facilitate families who need to find some private insurance supports as well. And parents can also reach out to us directly with the information on this slide. And yeah, I think that's pretty much sums up what we're about. We do, like, it is longer term mental health counseling. So some of those kids who might need more significant support than just like a couple of check-ins. And Jose, I can turn it over so he can introduce himself. He'll be the primary person in the school district, although we might get some help from other people if there's a lot of need. He's coming to you guys from the last 3 years over in the Staten area. So Jose, if you want to say hi, and if I missed anything, go ahead and like fill in the blanks.
Sure. So yeah, I'm just I'm glad that I'm part of this meeting, and that you guys opened this space for questions and stuff. And yeah, I'm coming in this year as a new person in Silverton. I'm not very familiar with just the schools and everything, but I do want to mention I'm bilingual, so if there's any Spanish-speaking families, I'll be more than happy to work with them as well. So we do offer that service. But yeah, just let us know if you have any questions. We can, I don't know, leave our personal or our work phone number, so you guys can reach out to us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, partners at Trillium. Trillium has just been an amazing partner across the region for so many places. So we really appreciate you all being here today. Okay, so this is just a slide that shows that Wildfire Regional Resources link on the Willamette ESD webpage that Rodney referenced is the word I was looking for earlier. So I just really want to, in closing, I'm looking at the time, we have about 4 minutes left and I want to be respectful of time. We are really, really grateful that you came to this meeting today. You are Silverton Strong. We are proud to be offering support to you all. And please don't hesitate to reach out to the people at your district to find out, if you have needs. We'd like to be able to support you in any way we can. Just a reminder here on the screen that says caring for yourself in the face of difficult work. Our work can be overwhelming. Our challenge is to maintain our resilience so we can keep doing the work with care, energy, and compassion. So the small things that you do every day that you have control over, getting enough sleep, getting enough to eat, varying the work that you do, doing a little bit of exercise, connecting in something pleasurable that you enjoy doing, focusing on what you did well. These are all things, and the list goes on, that you can do for just a split second through the day that can help boost you to be able to have the energy that you need to get through this challenging time. Our hearts are with you as you move forward towards welcoming students back into your classrooms. I know they're going to be very excited to see you as much as you to them. Does anyone on the panel have anything that they want to close with?
Yes, I do. So as part of we want to get better at what we are doing. I have posted another link in the chat. So if you could be so kind as to fill out, there's a short evaluation about how we did today, so that can help us improve. And also wanted everyone to know that this is not a one and done. We are more than willing to help support and working with district leaders on what that might look like. So please fill out the evaluation. That would be wonderful. And thank you.
Okay. So I think that wraps it up. Is there anyone from Silver Falls District that would like to say anything before we close the meeting?
Yeah, I'll say a few words, and I just wanted to say that, we had almost 150 people in this meeting, which tells me that, we have a significant need out there, not just for our kids, but for also our adults in the system. And so I just wanted to make sure that that I acknowledge that too. We have an open meeting this afternoon at 3:30. That's a Teachers Rock meeting with me. Everybody's invited and hope to see you there. And I hope you take advantage of some of these resources. And so thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.